All right, maybe let's go ahead and start. I think if you do see messages flash up with people coming into the lobby, if you want to go ahead and admit them while I'm sharing screens, please feel free to do that. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. My name is Ian O'Donnell. I work with the IFRC Secretariat based in Geneva. And hopefully we have an interesting session for you today looking at this topic of interactive messaging and chatbots. And what we wanted to do was really to give a little bit of a chance to see how we can set up a simple prototype chatbot. And then we'll do that together. We have a template we've started with, but we'll do a little exercise to get your thoughts and inputs on it. And then we also have a few colleagues from national societies that will present some examples of recent chatbots or interactive messaging tools that they've developed. So we'll have Alicia from the Kazakhstan Red Crescent and Yonat from the Netherlands Red Cross that will come and do examples of that in the second half of the session. So I put a message in the chat, if you're able to see that. It gives a little bit of instructions around both the overview webpage for this particular session, and we have a sign-up list too, if you want to go ahead and leave your name and email address there, if you're interested to stay in touch. But we also have a few instructions around how you can try out the demonstration chatbot that we're going to develop. So you can do that either by SMS or you can do that on WhatsApp with those instructions there. And then we'll also look at the results in a Google Sheet. So from there, let me go ahead and start in with the demonstration portion. I have a colleague from the company Twilio, Gunjan, who's going to, I think, hopefully be a second voice on this demonstration and show a little bit how some of these pieces are working. But I wanted to start with showing what the end goal is with the chatbot. So we set up an initial template already that if you go to those instructions in either in the chat or in the overview page, you can see how to join by SMS or WhatsApp. But basically we have a current template started that we can start just using my WhatsApp account here. And you'll see on the left-hand side, actually, let me just focus on that exclusively for the moment. So we started out with a couple of sample questions. These actually are current questions from the health portion of a resilience dashboard assessment that the IFRC has been developing with a variety of national societies over the last year. So we pulled in the first couple questions. So you'll see that the question starts with one initial question, around when members of your household would seek health assistance from trained health staff. And it gives a set of options. We can go ahead and say, we'll be maybe focused on preventive care, so we'll enter D for the moment. We then have a second question asking how often household members have sought professional health assistance in the last year. And there, okay, good. People coming from the lobby. We can give an answer again. I'll say 4 to 8 times for this answer. And then this is a super simple survey. So this is the third and final question, just asking about the country that we're coming from. So I'll go ahead and answer for myself here. And this is currently what the template is set up to do. So, and then we have a sheet that shows the results coming in, right? So this is just a Google Sheet. You can see the timestamp, and then the 2 answers that I gave. So, I gave preventative care as the first answer. 4 to 8 times a year, and then Switzerland as the country. So what we wanted to show actually then was a little bit of a tool called Twilio that's actually the back engine behind this. And the idea with the demo is to look at a simple prototype, and how we can create that using the Twilio Studio. So I'm going to step into that tool now and show a little bit what this looks like behind the scenes. And Twilio is a great service. Maybe Gunjan's with us. We also have Mikhail from Twilio, I think, in the session today. And they could probably give a few more details about the Twilio tool as we go forward. But it's basically a service that lets you send a variety of, or access a variety of messaging mechanisms that you can connect to, either a standalone sort of chatbot prototype. You can connect it to existing data and information systems that you may have that you want to link an interactive messaging element to. And there are even interesting options for linking in voice and other kinds of services. But for this particular demo, we're going to look at the Twilio Studio environment. So this is something that's basically set up as a flow chart, and that we've set up using just a trial account actually on Twilio. So if I start there, I can show quickly that if you wanted to try something and demonstrate it with your national society, it's easy to go ahead and sign up for the trial account with Twilio. As this loads, it's going to show, hopefully in a second, a little bit of background information. It gives you $15 of messaging costs to use with the trial account. So those are costs that can be either used for the SMS messaging or with the WhatsApp messaging. You can associate a trial number, which is what we're using for the SMS. And all of these are just things, again, to do a quick prototype. And it's also possible to use the WhatsApp in the sandbox mode, which is what we're using. So if you want to join by WhatsApp, if you send a message to the WhatsApp number, and you have to use this code words and say join, and then the code is minerals-DIE, and that will let you associate your WhatsApp account and use the chatbot through the sandbox. But from there, Twilio has a great set of tools actually to create a simple flow, which is essentially almost like a flow chart that's going to actually process the survey for us. So the same survey that you saw in the initial demonstration with WhatsApp, this is actually the back end for that that's loading right now. My laptop doesn't like running the Teams and these different websites all at the same time, but basically, let me zoom in a little bit. As I mentioned, this is a flow chart, where you can take advantage of the platform that Twilio has, and it shows a little bit at the top, what's coming in as the incoming message. So that can be either by SMS or WhatsApp, and it's leading into this initial question or this initial statement about welcoming people to the survey, right? So we have a simple welcome message, that we can edit and make changes to. We also have the questions themselves coming up in. So it's just flowing from that first message straight into the first question, right? So you'll see that this first question again is the same question you saw in the WhatsApp, asking about when would members of your household usually seek health assistance from the trained health staff. We have a number of different options we put there. These are the same ones you saw in WhatsApp. And then from there, again, following this flowchart logic, it takes the reply that comes in, and they can do this thing that we'll look at, what are the responses? And then it can trigger different action. It'll trigger potentially different actions based on the response, but it'll also record the response. So here we're just looking that the response matches any of the choices that were given in the original question. So did it give us the A, B, C, or D? And And then if it doesn't match those, it will actually confirm, asking, oh, you didn't match the anticipated response. Could you try again? And if it is one of those responses, then it will go into the second question. So, this is a sort of a really easy way to set up like a basic prototype. And again, this is something that can be created with the Twilio and Twilio Studio using the trial account. And it's really just this simple flow chart mechanism that once you get used to it, it's straightforward to see like how to create the second question. You put the question in, list the options. Again, how to set up this mechanism that's matching whether the answers are what was anticipated or not. And then from there, it just goes into the third and final question, which was just the open-ended question we asked, about the country. And then we send a simple message confirming, thanking people for taking the survey. And then this actually is something that just is Gunjan actually helped us write a simple script that just takes the results from everyone's survey's response, from the three questions, and then helps put those back into the Google Sheet that we saw. So, we wanted to see if any of you have had a chance to try it out. So let me go back over quickly and see. We have at least one more response. Interesting. It's good to see. So if others of you want to go ahead and try it, feel free to, again, just connect with the instructions we gave. But the other piece we wanted to do was to go ahead and just show how we could make a simple change and update it live. So, in the demo today, I think, we don't necessarily want to go and create a whole another set of questions, because that will probably take us a little bit too long. But just to show a little bit, that we can go ahead and make changes fairly easily. We wanted to see if you put some ideas in the chat around other kinds of assistance you would seek from a healthcare professional. So we've listed these first four around assistance for acute emergencies or prolonged illness or birth or preventive care. But if you have other ideas for what to include, we'd love to kind of go ahead and get your thoughts and input on that in the chat. Okay, so we have one suggestion around vaccination. Is there a second suggestion too? Does anyone else have another? I can go ahead and start to put that one in. Okay, if not, we may go ahead and just still start with that. So we can, as you see, add just the additional entry there for vaccination, and we can save that so that now will be one of the question responses. Then it's really just a matter of going back over to the health conditions, and we need to make sure we just add the options. Since we added an E option there, we're going to save those. And then after we're done saving, then we just go back up and we can publish the changes. And what this is going to let us do is then go back to our WhatsApp window. Let's go to this. And then we can run through essentially the chatbot one more time. So now we see that we get the first question, and it comes up again with the new choice. So we can go ahead and choose that for vaccination. I don't know, if we're focusing on vaccination, maybe we'll choose 1 to 3 times a year that we're seeking assistance. And I guess I'm still going to be from Switzerland. So so you can see that now we're able to bring the new response in to our Google Sheet. It shows we've gotten a few more answers as well. Another one from Belgium. So yeah, this has been great. And again, this is something that was fairly easy to set up. Like we're using this trial account. It came with the $15 of messaging credit. But it's a easy way, probably within, just a few hours, if you were interested, you could create a demonstration chatbot like this and try it out, with colleagues in your national society or with partners, a little bit just to show the potential. But the examples were here from our colleagues in Kazakhstan and from the Netherlands. We'll talk a little bit more around how to integrate these kind of messages into a wider set of services. But I wanted to go ahead and maybe just take a quick moment here to step back, and I'll stop sharing screens for a second. But was interested just to maybe see first, Gunjan, I mentioned, is supporting us a little bit from Twilio and it helped to create the demo. But to see if Gunjan had any initial comments, but also to see if you have questions or comments, feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat or to raise your hand.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Ian, for inviting Michal and me here. We're always very excited to work with this organization. Currently, we work with American Red Cross and also with France. So like Ian mentioned that Twilio is basically a communications platform. Ian showed WhatsApp, but you can communicate using voice, messaging, Facebook Messenger. I'll be happy to share additional information if needed. But I see a couple questions here. I apologize in advance if I'm mispronouncing the name, but Aero asks, can you share the referral code so we can get additional $10? You don't need a referral code. You can just I'll type the link in the chat. You can go to twilio.com and set up an account, and just setting up an account, you'll get a $10. Thomas is asking, are there available connectors to input the data in, say, SQL database instead of Sheet? Yes, Thomas. So the last script that Ian had shown, that's basically a webhook. So you can point it to anything. If you have an existing system, then you can point it to a webhook there, which can then write it to SQL database. So that's the point, that it's quite flexible. So it's a drag and drop UI, but behind each of those drag and drop widgets is an API call. So yes, you can connect it to whatever your systems of records are. A lot of people use Dynamics here, I think, and Microsoft Dynamics has a connector. I think it's called Power Apps for Twilio. And if you use Salesforce also has a connector, which is called Twilio for Salesforce. Ian, is there anything else you would like me to add here?
No, I think this is good. Maybe if there are additional questions, maybe let's just give another 30 seconds or so.
Yeah.
If not, we can also jump ahead to the examples with the national societies, and then that will leave more time for questions and discussions at the end. But I think we're happy to come back and talk more about this this particular demonstration, and talk more too about some of the other features. Like I think Gunjan was mentioning, there's other ways to integrate like voice and other kinds of services that I think, even some of our work in the Red Cross so far, there's quite a lot happening, but I think we're also scratching the surface in terms of some of the kinds of things that may be available. So yeah, I think this is a
perfect.
Interesting point, but sure, thank you. So I don't see any more questions or hands. So I'm going to see Alisher, if you're ready to present next. If you want to start by introducing yourself, and then you just give me a cue and we can cut to the video, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you, Ian, for inviting me to this meeting. My name is Alisher. I'm presented the Kazakhstan Red Crescent National Society's working as a public relations specialist, we developed the chatbot just to help us to inform more population about the COVID and about who we are and what we do. So I sent a short video for the Ian with the screen shown. So Ian, if it's possible, could you please present the video for us? The video is also with sound.
Yeah, hopefully. Let's make sure that works.
Hi everyone, my name is Alisher and I'm working as a public relations specialist in Kazakhstan Red Crescent National Society. Now I will demonstrate some of the features of our chatbot for a more detailed understanding of its work. Here you can see its name and how it can be found in our bot in Telegram. Our bot was developed by a team of developers that we hired separately and they made it very good. Naturally, there are few things that still need to be worked on, but we do not stop there. The chatbot is available on 2 languages. They are Russian and Kazakh, as they are spoken by the population of Kazakhstan. Accordingly, after selecting the language, you will see a menu. For example, we choose the Russian. So, this is the menu. There are many different buttons to interact within this menu. Let's click on the second button called Branches. So right here, by clicking on it, we will be available to choose from all the cities where our branch is located. When you click on it, the contact information of our branch will be displayed. For example, we will choose the Almaty. So you can see the contact information of our branch. There are contact phone, email, and address. Also the postcard. So let's back to our menu. Here we are very interested in the button called COVID. Clicking on it opens up a few more buttons. There are myths, all about COVID, and questions about COVID. The last one is getting us back to the main menu. So for example, let's click on the general information, all about COVID-19. And here again, we can find there are many different buttons. For example, I click here, how to protect yourself from infection. After the clicking, as you can see, the information we need immediately pops up in the chat bar. Returning to the menu, now open the feedback button and then click on a contact us. An email address pop-ups here where people can write. Also, getting back to our menu, our bot tells you all about our activities, something like who we are, the first aid, social help, disaster risk, voluntary, and international humanitarian aid. If, however, I need to make any of my own information, then I make a priority request and make adjustment. Unfortunately, I can't show it because you need to enter the password directly here. I'm so sorry about it. Also, we have a button, something like donations, where we have a link for donations. And I hope I was able to properly show and tell you how our bot works from the inside. To date, our bot is used by about 300 people, and periodically we receive emails with a request for social help. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope that information will be very useful.
Great, thanks for the video. I'll share. I'll let you go back and switch over to live comments. But I'll stop the share in the meantime.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for demonstration the video. I think this video describes all the information about the chatbot. And by the way, if you have any questions, you can write down here in the chat, and I'm gonna answer them.
Maybe in the meantime, Alisher, can you share a little bit more around the collaboration that created the chatbot? Like what roles the national study played, who you worked with as a technology partner? Did you interact with the telecoms companies as part of the collaborations? Just to give a little more background on who was involved.
Oh, yes, okay. We decided to make a chatbot in the quarantine period because we have no free arms to answers for many questions for our population, which we get from. And after this, we find some money from IFRC and started looking for developer companies who could make for us the bot that we want to get. And only after that, after finding the very nice company of developer, which is gonna make the bot for us, we start to develop the process. It has been about 1 month, something like that. And by this month, we're made so many marks, so many rebuilding process. I'm a public relations specialist, so I'm not sure talking about the software, but we're using the Telegram because the Telegram is the messenger right here in Kazakhstan that is very popular and getting more popular day by day. So also in the Telegram, it's very friendly and intuitive platform, menu, and etc. to use. So we finally decided Telegram. It's not only about their popularity, but however, it's talking about some friendly software to make and use the chatbots. So after that, after developing all of the development process, something like text and some software and etc., we shared it in our social networks. We pushed some press releases on it, and many of the people want to try it. By the way, right now, all the databases are located on the server of the developer company, but we are currently working on adding a function for getting statistic for the administrator to the bot, which will help you get statistics in real time. By the way, we have some administration panel in the bot that helps us to post some new information, to delete something, or to edit something.
Great, thank you, Alisher. I see there's one question in the chat.
Yeah.
You see it? So do you receive fewer questions now by Facebook or by phone as a result of the bot?
I'm not sure exactly, but all of the emails that we have by the feedback form, it's about how to get a social help. How do people know that they can use it? We put the information about chatbot in our social platforms, and also put in our Instagram stories, Facebook stories, information about chatbot and the link for the chatbot. Also, we have some information in our social networks where people could tap on the link and get to the chatbot. So we're communicating with the people by the emails, but for today we're also trying to develop some kind of software that will help us to talk with our people more directly through the chatbot. By the way, the menu, as you could see, is a very friendly and very intuitive. So we have two languages, Kazakh and Russian. So if you're a Kazakh speaker or Russian speaker, it's not a big problem to start to use it. By the way, for today, are many companies, many people are using the chatbots, and even the government using some of the chatbots, and people, I don't know how to say, they're using the chatbots every day, maybe every week, every month.
Great. So there's one more question now around how the chatbot helps your organization. And it's sort of a similar question of like, how does it help meet the calls coming in? Does it reduce those numbers of incoming calls? Like, how are you measuring the success, essentially?
Yeah, the chatbots describes information about us, and people can find some information about first aid, social help, which documents they need to get a social help, and after that they're coming in our office with this bucket of the docs and applying to get the social help and getting the contact numbers of our branches in all of the country. I'm not sure about the call. I'm not sure about our call center because we don't have that. We have only the phone numbers of our offices and branches, but talking about the perspective from how it was before and how it's now, the number of calls a little bit smaller than it been before, I think. I'm not sure about it.
All right, well, maybe something to look into more in the future. I think there probably is some curiosity too around how long it took to develop the chatbot, and also what you did to get user feedback, like sort of in the early stages. Like, did you do specific kinds of user testing?
First of all, before launching our chatbot, we shared the link with our colleagues and some of the volunteers. By my own, I shared the link with my friends and neighbors and asked them to try this bot. So after that, they're giving me very good feedback about what to need to remove and what need to add. Something like that, I think.
All right. And you have one more question coming in the meantime around if you can see the gender and age disaggregation of who is using the chatbot. So are you looking at do you collect demographic data from the
No,
users?
we are not collecting the demographic data because every gender, every age could use it and ask us for help.
All right. Well, Asha, thank you very much for sharing. I mean, this is a really exciting project, and it's great to see something kind of get developed quite fast and be responsive to the needs we have with the COVID-19 response. So fantastic work there.
Thanks.
Maybe we'll take the next example, but I'm sure there'll be other questions that come in after that. So yeah, please stick around if you have time, and then let's see what other kind of questions come in towards the end of the session.
Okay.
But in the meantime, thanks again. And next up we have Jonat, who's going to talk with us, coming from the Netherlands Red Cross and from the 510 data center, but talking about some of the experience that the 510 Netherlands across have with using this kind of interactive message. So Jonat, over to you.
Thank you, Ian. Hi, everyone. It's very nice to meet you all. So my name is Jonat, and I work on digital community engagement and accountability at 510, the data team of the Netherlands Red Cross. Alice, a really cool chatbot. I just want to say what I really like about it is actually the menu that is incorporated in that, because I think that takes away one of the biggest challenges there are around chatbots, which in recognizing if people can send any type of question or message to a chatbot, then the chatbot would need to translate that into something that the system understands and give an appropriate answer. And I think to train a chatbot to be able to do that takes a lot of time. And I think this is a really cool solution for that. So I really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you so much. Let me just share my screen for my presentation. I have a couple of slides prepared. Ian, can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yeah, it's all good, Jonna.
Perfect, thank you. Because I am sharing my screen, I can't see any questions coming in or hands being raised. So please just interrupt me when there are any questions. So we've been using Twilio in a few different ways, and I'm going to show you in this very short presentation how we're doing it. First, a little bit about the context. So as the Netherlands Red Cross, we've been supporting around 600 undocumented migrants in the Netherlands with digital supermarket vouchers and information on other available support services for them. And in the context of that project, it's a pilot project where we have made the whole process from registration to the transfer of the voucher digital. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is how the invitations to register and the help desk are managed, and what we use in order to do that. So first, we asked undocumented migrants how they would like to communicate with us. And in conversations, it became really clear that that was WhatsApp. So I use WhatsApp. It's an easy way to communicate. It's something that we heard. I have this smartphone because I want to use WhatsApp, or I'm on WhatsApp because everyone is. I communicate there with everyone. And we found out in these conversations that even other support organizations like the World House in Amsterdam is communicating with the community through WhatsApp groups. So in short, WhatsApp was the answer. So then we started thinking, okay, how can we do that? And how can we set that up in a way that it facilitates scale? Because we're piloting now with a group of around 600 undocumented migrants, but in the future we might scale up and we might go to 1,000 or 2,000 people affected. And how can we make sure that we can still manage those numbers then? And at the moment, but we're using the pilot to review as well what makes most sense continuing this work in the future is we're using Twilio for sending out bulk messages, and we're using OB41 for managing the interactive help desk. So this is a screenshot that I took from our most recent overview, very simply in Excel. This blue bar is here because I hid the numbers of the people affected. So what we've set up is we've set up a system in Excel where you can really easily add the phone numbers that you want to send a message to. So that can be 1 or 2, but it can also be 1 or 200. You have pre-added the message that you want to send. So here you select the language you want to send that message in. You select the channel. So here we choose between SMS or WhatsApp. You select the message type. So it can be, as you can see here, can be an invitation to register. It can be a paper voucher if that is an option that someone chose for. And we're currently setting up interviews for the evaluation of the pilot, and we're reaching out to people as well through this system to make appointments. Then the message pops up here, so you can check if everything is correct and if everything is okay. And we use Microsoft Flow to send the message out. And after that, the red columns will update the status. So you can see if a message is undelivered. If that happens on a WhatsApp message, we always try the SMS option as a backup. Here you can see that the SMS message is undelivered, so that probably means that there is something wrong with the phone number, or the person affected changed their phone number. So that is when we would contact the partner organization. But you see here that luckily most of the messages went out okay. So you see different types of statuses: sent, delivered, or read even. The date it was sent. And you can, we keep an archive of this so you know exactly who you sent what message with the timestamp as part of the pilot. Now, if we, for example, look at the message with the invitation to register to the project, and we always include the link to the WhatsApp help desk. And this is a screenshot of what that looks like. So we're currently using OB41 to manage the help desk. If someone clicks on that link in the message, it will directly open a WhatsApp conversation with a WhatsApp for Business number that is linked to this environment. The messages, any open messages are coming in here. And what is great about this system is that you can really easily work together with many people at the same time. So if a message comes in and I open it to answer, then anyone else who is in the system can't open that message anymore because it's then claimed by me. So you avoid that multiple people are going to answer one particular question. So then with this help desk, we started receiving questions about the project, but also about various other issues. So here's a really quick overview of the number of questions we have received. But at the time that I made this presentation, that was 341. And you can see here the different topics of the questions that have come in. And just a few examples to illustrate, because what we have started to see with this help desk and with the interaction is that people really appreciate the personal communication. So we sign every message with our name and people start replying back to you as a person, asking how you are doing. A lot of appreciation is what we hear, and then usually with a question about their registration, one of the biggest topics. I have a question about the Albert Heijn, that is the name of the supermarket. A voucher, by far the biggest topic. But also you see here medical, shelter. There are also other questions that started coming in, and some actually very personal questions. So you see the example of, hello, I'd like to ask if I can help with terminating a pregnancy. I've taken a pregnancy test, but I kind of see a faint line in it, so I am disturbed. And this is then someone who we've talked to previously about, for example, registering for this support, and who comes back to us later on the help desk with a question that is obviously very personal, that is not related to the project that we're doing, but that allows us to refer that person to an organization that can help her in the area where she is in. We have to leave the AZC, which is the location where people who come in and apply for asylum stay in while they wait the decision that is made. In 2 weeks, can you please tell us where to find a shelter? We also got some feedback about the help desk. So I think it was interesting, and I definitely have some follow-up questions in relation to the voice options of the Twilio survey, or the Chatbot survey, because we get quite a few requests for making calls because people are not super comfortable in typing, especially if it's not their first language. We often give the option for them to send us a voice message, which is a possibility, and that helps a lot. But I'm really interested in that, so I might circle back to that later. And we got questions about people who changed their phone number or where something else is changing. So they're reaching out to us with the question of whether that can be adapted in the system. So all of these different types of questions are currently logged in a feedback log sheet. It's anonymous, so I can show it here. These are our names, so these are the names of the person who collected the feedback by date, and all of this information is then visualized in a very simple dashboard where it's also coded, so it's easier to filter and find the feedback that has come in according to a different topic or different type. So was it a question, or was it a complaint, or was it a suggestion or positive feedback, for example? At the moment, these steps are require quite a bit of manual work. So that is also something that we're looking at. How can we set this up in an automated way, or as much as possible automate it? And for that, I'm also interested in hearing a bit more about the different options that Twilio offers. We also used this same process for sending out bulk messages to all of the people affected that we've helped to answer a short survey. And there we actually put the link to the Kobo survey in the message. But here in the future, we might definitely be interested in using the Twilio chatbot survey. So that is also a follow-up conversation that I'm very interested in having. That was it for now. I'm just going to minimize this so I can see more of what is going on in the chat. And please let me know if there are any questions.
Great, thank you, Jana. It's a really a pretty interesting example, and I think it contrasts well with Alicia's example, where it's a dedicated chatbot. It's a sort of a standalone versus you're using the messaging in more of a complementary fashion with some of the other digital systems. So I think that together, they really show quite a wide range of options and opportunity. Let's see, are there questions from the group, either in the chat or if you want to raise a hand? If not, maybe we can give people a moment to think about questions. And I don't know, Gunjan, if you wanted to come in and talk a little bit around the ways other organizations are integrating voice or how that could work in the future. But it would be interesting to hear a little bit more. I think there's a lot of interest in our audience for that kind of feature.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the places, especially so for example, Norwegian Refugee Council, they have a contact center in Libya, and where the refugees can call in on the programmable voice, and they can dial the number. So for example, they'll get a short menu, which might be, do you need assistance with legal matters, or do you need assistance with food? So they're presented with a small IVR. They can click the right number, and then that gets piped to a contact center. So Yonat, is that how you say your name? Like you showed the help desk, right? So it was coming to a help desk. Similarly, in Norwegian Refugee Council, it comes to a product called Flex. Twilio has a product called Flex, which is used to maintain the contact center. So there's a small office there, and people sit, and then these tasks come to the people who are helping the refugees, and then they can call them back. So that's one way. And voice is especially a powerful platform because literacy is an issue sometimes, especially with the refugees. So that's one way we use voice. And what Ian had shown, the drag and drop, the same thing can be used to create voice IVRs as well. So the widgets are available for voice. So a widget might be like say, in which case you can do text and it can be converted to speech. So we have text to speech, and then it also has speech recognition. So either people can press something or they can say a key. So that's one way you can implement a voice IVR. They can also record a message and leave. And there are quite a few languages supported, and I can follow up with a complete list of languages, but there is text to speech and speech recognition. So I know we support Amharic in Ethiopia, and Arabic, and obviously English in Libya. So that's another thing that you can consider. One thing I do want to point out, for your case, you had mentioned in your spreadsheet that you were getting undeliverables, like some of the messages were bouncing back. There is an API, and I'll follow up with email. There is a check you can do on the phone numbers before you send the message. It's called the lookup API. So for any phone, you can first test what kind of, if it's a phone, like if it's a valid phone number or not. And even in some countries, you might be able to check what kind of phone it is, like it's a landline or mobile, because sometimes you might get a bounce back because it's not the right kind of phone or it doesn't have the right ability.
Thank you so much for that elaborative answer. That was very helpful.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks, Kanchan. And yeah, I see there's a question that's come in around sort of bridging between the comments in your presentation, but looking at the migrants and having long-term phone numbers in some countries, but a question around how, if that's been an issue in the Netherlands itself and the work that the 510 has done with one-to-one.
I mean, yes, the short answer is yes. Relatively speaking, of the total of 600 people, it's a small group, but we do notice that people change phone numbers, or rather, maybe even more so than changing phone numbers, they often have multiple phone numbers. And because we do the verification with our partner organizations that know the people better than we do, the partner organization has usually one phone number, then they register with us with another phone number, and then that verification then takes a little bit more time than it has to, of course, because it's not a one-on-one match, and that has happened quite a lot. Changing phone numbers also, but less, and because of the help desk, it's quite easy for them to communicate that to us and for us to change it in the system. We've also seen that people register again on their own initiative when they know they have a new phone number to change it. And what we've also seen there is that it's really key to explain really well how the WhatsApp feature. So in this pilot project, we're sending them the supermarket voucher through WhatsApp. For example, one of the questions that we heard quite a lot is that they then don't need data or Wi-Fi to be able to use the voucher in the supermarket. So it's things like that in communication that require a little bit of attention. But then once they're solved, it goes really well for the duration of the project, and then it's so much easier for them to have it on their phone. I hope that answers your question, Nasli. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. I see a GDPR question as well, which I think is great. I have a GDPR question. If someone sends us a message to ask a question, can we keep the number and send them bulk mass afterwards for an emergency, for example? Does it depend on our own privacy policy? I think it was a very good question, Sarah. I'm not sure if it's directly directed just to me, but I will answer maybe first briefly, and then maybe someone else has something to say about this particular topic as well, because I think it's really important. So the way we do it is the only way that people can reach out to us is through the help desk. And in the help desk, in the OB for One system that we use, we cannot initiate our own messages, let's say. So when we're talking to people on the help desk, we're always replying to a question that has come in. And there we also don't save someone's phone number. I mean, it's in you can always go back to the conversations that you've had. So technically it's there, but we don't save it anywhere else outside of that system. When we send out the bulk messages, we can only send messages that have been pre-approved by Twilio. So we create a template, we upload that, usually within like a couple of hours, really fast. Twilio approves the message, and then you can send out that particular message as a bulk message and not anything else. And the way we've set it up from the beginning is that the partner organizations that we work with ask permission to the people affected to share their phone number with us as the Red Cross. So the only piece of information that we receive at the start of the project is their phone number. Then we use that phone number to send the invitation to register to those numbers, which is then the pre-approved message by Twilio. And then in the digital interface they use for registration, we explain our GDPR policy, what we do with the data, what data we will ask, what personal information we will ask, and why. And there they give consent to that. And then it's a phone number that we can use and store. I hope that helps.
And let me just, hello everyone, it's Michał Kowalik from Twilio.org. Thank you for a great demo, by the way. And just to follow up on your, the question about the GDPR, On the technology side, Twilio takes the privacy of the data very seriously. So we have several very strict processes and documentations talking about that. So for us, the security and the safety of the data of the people you're working with, that's paramount. And then, as you explained as well, it's once the technology is compliant with the local regulations, is it GDPR or is it HIPAA in US or anything else, then it's also the procedure how you handle the data, which we of course can discuss, and getting that consent from the beneficiaries that the number states in Red Cross and can be reused. It's a yet another thing. But yes, those things are very important to us, and very happy to answer some longer questions over the email if you have any. But we're quite positively paranoid about that, just to make sure that important things are kept safe.
Great, thank you, Michal. Maybe too, we're probably at the very end of the session. So first, just a big thanks to Jonat, to Alisher, and to Gujan and Michal too for helping with the demo. So, I think it was a great chance to start to explore some of these things. If you are interested to keep in touch, just put your name in the participants list in the overview page that we shared. And yeah, I hope everyone has a great week. There's a lot of good events this week, so pace yourselves, find something interesting, and yeah, go out and be active. So thank you all for joining. Take care.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you for facilitating and hosting.
Sure. Till next time. Thanks.
I tried to tag Gunjan, but I think she has a really complicated name in here.
I know, it's like a couple of lines long, my name. It's very strange, but yeah, I will.
Can I just type in my email address here? I'm really sorry, but I have to go to a next meeting that I can't.
Yeah.
But I am super interested in knowing a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.